Hello, welcome to
Hello.
Spotlight TV. I'm your host, Dr. Larry Carnes, and we're glad that you could join us today. We're excited to have a very special guest with us today, Mr. McDonald, and he's the author of Pandora's Christmas. So we're going to be talking to Mr. McDonald today, and he's going to be sharing his book with us. Mr. McDonald, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, it's so great to have you as our guest today. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself, and then tell us about this book that you have.
Well, I'm a bookbinder. I've done a lot of things with books. I've read them, made them for Princess Diana, in fact. And I've done that for 30 odd years. Now I'm looking after the wife. She's disabled now. So I thought, in the meantime, write a book. And this is my first.
Okay.
Pandora's
so now
Christmas.
tell our audience a little. Okay.
Yes.
Pandora's Christmas. Yes.
Yeah.
So what was the driving force behind you writing this book?
Oh, right. You know that it's a Greek story, I believe. Pandora was given a box with all the evils in the world in it. What made me a bit curious is how do they get them in there in the first place? So generally speaking, this book is about how they've done that and how the book was given away. So,
okay. I noticed here you talk about it, the book will widen your knowledge about wizards and witches and where magic really came from. How does the book do that, where magic really came from? Unpack that for our audience and speak to that.
I decided that it'd be best evolving. So from that point of view, but a lot of the real wizards evolved and died out during a mass extinction because I imagine it as very old. But I've got dragons in there as well, and they were able to give a gift of magic in there. So I've done that, and they argued, and the dragons argued amongst themselves. I've also got in the book a creature called the Whore of Babylon. I don't know whether you've heard of him, but he was in the Bible, and he was.
No, I haven't heard of that before. Okay.
He was a servant of the devil. He wanted to free the devil. He was he was trapped. So the Whore of Babylon, has 7 heads, but because it was cursed, only one could get out at a time. And she went in. We named her Mystery, simply because we didn't know who was coming out to start off with. So the whore was called the Mystery. And it came as I like going through. I'm a bit of a cosmologist. Now I had creatures coming from Io and from moons as well, which are unknown or made up a type moon which spins one way and spins another way on the other side, keeping it warm through friction and kinetic energy. So it was, I enjoyed it actually. So I'm writing another one at the moment. So I've only got about 50 pages written of that. And
wow.
It's going to.
So you mentioned something about where magic really came from as I was doing research on the book. Talk to us about that, where magic really came from, because I thought that's interesting. Because for people who are, they entertain, they're illusionists and they get into magic and things of that nature. So where did magic really come from?
Well, it was evolved in other creatures, like Homo erectus and the like. It just got better, and one of the witches, I made her royalty, you know, and she fell in love with a beekeeper, and the beekeeper's daughter was Pandora, and they were trying to get rid of the Whore of Babylon because it proved a threat. And the magic was mainly given by the dragons, and the dragons died off. A lot of the dragons died off, and it first started with, like I said, it first started in a cave. You know, they tried to get rid of some of the evils because it's happened before, and they really, this is not a physical thing. Evils aren't really physical, so they try to impregnate the body with all these horrible evils, and then they sealed it. This is what a previous generation tried to do, but they weren't really successful because the curse come up again and it broke it free.
Okay, you talk about the curse, you talk about it happening in a cave. So when you go into a cave, it's really a dark place in the cave. What happens when you're dealing with the magic, you're dealing with the wizards, you're dealing with the witches? What happens if light starts to penetrate that cave that they're in? Does it have any impact on what they're doing in the cave?
No, because they, like in Harry Potter, they illuminate on the wands and etc. And it was, they were running away from things, and the cave was there. From there.
Oh, wow. So if light starts to penetrate the darkness, I hear you saying, like Harry Potter, they would run away from light that starts to penetrate that world of that kingdom of darkness?
Yeah, essentially, yes. Yeah.
So what would prompt them? Why would they feel the need of the urgency to run away from the light when it started to penetrate that world of darkness?
Because they knew that it wasn't ordinary light, you know. It was part of the evils that was escaping. And they also process of the whore coming back, right? It's you see a process. It absorbed gases, and they managed to work out what kind of whore. You know, there's different types. There's a lust, and there's all the 7 evils. You've got lust, and you've got wrath, you've got sloth, and these are all carried around. And they were carried around essentially to start off with this lady named Martine. But she kept them in her foot, because I put them in the foot because they called it the dust of all the evils, you know. So I thought, put them in the foot, and that's where the dust is. As simple as that. But the curse started to reopen, and one of the heads come out and grew into the Whore of Babylon, but only one could. So this one that come out was lust. So I made it so that it wasn't really hard to kill the whore, but to get rid of all the dust on the ground was a whole new ball game, because it's like digging up sand and it blowing it away. We had to use a different method, and this dust ended up in Pandora's Christmas, Pandora's box, and
wow.
She was
now, why is it called Pandora's Christmas? Why that title? That's quite an interesting title, Pandora's Christmas.
Because it's backwards, and Christmas, it's a horrible thing, isn't it? Pandora's box is not a good thing, but if it is a Pandora's Christmas, you know, you've got the closed box and all the evils are in there, and she doesn't have to open it. it was the one day
Okay.
she could get it.
Pandora's Christmas. That's
I did-
interesting because when you hear the word Christmas,
I changed the name. No, it was, and because I increased the size so that I wrote a few more pages on it, I changed the name from satanic platforms, where each it's like a phone is like a platform. Whatever goes on in your mind, like us now, we're on a platform, and the satanic platforms was a method of speaking to the public for everyone to go through. And this was from Satan himself. He controlled everything that was on the computers and everything. He could see what was happening. So
you're saying that the platform, you're saying,
excuse me.
Are you saying that the platform and the message, I heard you say from Satan, so when the light starts to penetrate that kingdom that they live in, are you saying that they feel threatened by that light?
Yeah, and dust.
Does the light have the power? Does the light have the power over that kingdom of darkness, and that's why they feel threatened?
Yes, essentially, yes. It has the power to speak to everything. Well, listen to everything, not speak, because and then Satan is listen to all this, and and Satan can speak directly to mystery, the whore of Babylon, and tell her what to do. But the first thing was get him out of there. I put him trapped in a book. It's called the Devil's Bible. Actually, it's the real Bible hidden in Sweden. It's Codex Gigas. You see a picture of him on the back. But I assumed that it was he was trapped in there by some spells in the Bible alone. Have you heard of it, Codex Gigas?
No, but that's quite interesting because I'm hearing you saying that that kingdom of darkness feels threatened because it knows that the kingdom of light can penetrate it. So it's in the cave.
Yeah.
And when that kingdom of light comes in, it flees and tries to run away from it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Listen, we have 2 minutes remaining. We have 2 minutes. You have about 30 to 45 seconds to just tell people. I know the book's available on Amazon, but just take about 30 seconds and tell our viewing audience how they can contact you if they want to contact you.
You can contact me on my Facebook page, and you can look at Amazon and Kindle and get this on the Facebook page. And advertisers are Book Trail Agency. They help me publicize it and get in contact with you.
Okay. Oh, well, Mr. McDonald, thank you so much for being with us. It's quite interesting, the interview. Thank you so much. And we
I hope you enjoyed it.
To just, yes, thank you so much. And so we want to thank our viewers for joining us, and we'll be right back. Thank you for watching Mr. McDonald here on Spotlight TV. I'm your host, Dr. Larry Carnes. We'll see you next time right here on Spotlight TV.
Congratulations! You are the recipient of 7 nights of luxury resort accommodations. Choose from thousands of U.S. destinations and hundreds of international destinations. Have the time of your life. Redeem your certificate now and start planning your luxury vacation today. We contract with the world-leading hotel chains and resorts to help fill empty rooms, which the hotels, resorts, and cruise lines turn into additional revenue from other areas of their property and future bookings. You will receive 7 nights luxury resort accommodations. Redeem your certificate to activate your offer and start planning your vacation today. Candace from Greenville, South Carolina said, "Our vacation was absolutely amazing. The travel agency gave us the opportunity of a lifetime. We had the pleasure of getting married on our vacation we booked through them. Thank you." So what are you waiting for? Activate your offer today.
Well, welcome back, and we're so glad to continue with this awesome interview. Continue to give us insights into this awesome book that you wrote. Now, I thought it quite interesting as we began to talk about it. You know, we were talking about going into the cave, we're talking about the Christmas, we're talking about darkness and different things of that.
Yeah.
Continue to share with us and give us some more insights into that, if you will.
The cave was where other creatures met the Whore of Babylon, and they tried to get rid of it, but they failed. But they knew they had to make a box, which was Pandora's box. So they made a diagram, a sort of map, something like that, how to make it and everything like that. Had to be lined with special material. I lined it with blue rose leaves because it had to be something from out of Earth, because they must be out of time, as it would affect. You can't get blue roses, apparently, in this world, unless they try to make really dark reds and really dark other colours, but real blue you can't get. It's like corrupting a rose. But I used the Tree of Life. I made a wand from the Tree of Life, and it was able to make a proper rose from a twig, from a branch of a rose, ordinary rose, white rose in that meant. And we lined it up with petals from the rose. And when Pandora, she was had the task of taking the evils and the dust from the ground and all the dust of their evils. That's what I meant by Babylon, because everywhere and the Whore of Babylon walked, the dust of her evils walked with her and went all the way wherever the dust was. That went, and she had to find a way of picking all that throughout the world. And what she had to do is pick up these dust, and she put it through her body. Her body at the time was
through her body.
Yeah, through her body, and she actually, using the wand, reduced herself and put herself in the box. And this is a different timeline, remember? So by this time, and another Pandora would receive the box at Christmas and be told not to open it, because she's got the evils in her in the box. Now, she told Solomon, that's one of the kings, what she had to do, and she worried and everything like that, like you do. She was scared, and his daughter Elizabeth stayed with her.
Now that's interesting. You say she was scared. What was it that scared Pandora?
Well, really, how would it end? Because when you've got something like all the evils in the world spreading their evils in your body, you're going to worry about it, whether you like it or not. And there's lots of people have worries, you know, and even those from family and things like that. She had an older brother, and he needed help as well because he didn't like it.
Okay, so Pandora's Christmas. She's afraid.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's afraid of the other forces that would come against her, although she's a part
what would
of this
happen?
culture.
Because she would remain alive in the box. But, as I said, there was a different timeline. It got split. So there is another Pandora, which is alive and well and kicking. So, and that's why you end up with two Pandoras and helping the present Pandora really doesn't know. She's just got to stay as the Queen said so.
Okay, so there are two Pandoras.
Yeah,
Now,
have
as
faith.
we talked before, what did Pandora and that world see as their greatest enemy, their greatest threat? We talked
Oh,
about light, we talked about the darkness. Were they
the,
really
gr- well,
afraid of the light?
the greatest enemy is themselves. Because
Oh,
really, more it all depends on how much faith. You've got to have faith, and more faith you got in your fellow man, the more the stronger you'll be. I've always thought that, and when you've got many people around you, you're stronger people. But if you're alone and scared, it's a place you don't want to see. So all you got, it's like being in prison. You get
so
depressed.
that's interesting. You said the greatest enemy was within themselves.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that's powerful. So the greatest enemy was within themselves. So that means that
Yeah.
there's a battle
Yeah.
within themselves.
Yeah. But this can be controlled by the people around you. You see, a friend, my wife, she can help me. But I'm not saying this fear will be overwhelming. That won't happen. But it's a thing you remember. You see,
Wow.
my
Okay.
my grandfather had his nose shot off in the First World War, and he was my mum had she was buried in the Second World War, and she was deaf in one ear. She was scared. She had to. She didn't want to sit on the right side of people, if I remember rightly. I think it was because she couldn't hear them, and it was all in her. And sometimes it wound up, and so this was right through her life. So I thought that usually it's themselves. If you're afraid of something, you're going to make it worse, unless you have other people helping you get through this. This happens in this COVID, really. A lot of people have had COVID and watched the program about, it's called The Ambulance, about every other person in northwest of England are really depressed because of COVID, and they catched it. They can't go out. This is a while ago now, so
wow.
but we're
So
getting
now,
better.
when you compare Pandora's experience with the COVID and afraid, can't get out, can't get exposure. So the world, the culture that Pandora is involved in also implements fear, and it's the fear of others being more powerful and able to destroy her, or what's the actual fear?
Well, that is right. Fear of Babylon, the horror of Babylon. Now, I was told there's only one fear you're born with, one phobia you're born with, and that's falling down. Because if you remember rightly, when you fall down for the first time, you roll up immediately, so you don't actually hit yourself. So this phobia was put in you when you were born. You see, and so the horror of Babylon, if you fall down, what happened is that people were scared of the horror of Babylon because it held all the evils in her feet mainly and where she went. And people bowed down and they didn't want to stare at her. But as soon as they come up, they ended up with a fear of the falling down. So they were seduced by the eyes of the horror of Babylon. And as soon as that happened, they were under her spell. But they found ways around this. Heroes of my novel found ways around this and had a plan to go forth.
Wow.
And
that's
help
quite
get rid of it.
interesting.
But the thing is, it happened before. But you heard there's the 7 evils, and you heard of them. Is wrath, gluttony, and I can't name them all, but there's 7 basic evils, and I'll put it in the horror of Babylon that only one can come out at a time.
Wow.
And the one that
So you talk about these different
evils. You've seen that
evils
film?
that exist.
The film Seven.
Yeah. So
Same.
who does these evils see as their opposition? Are they threatened and are they fearful of?
Well, the prime goal of the Whore of Babylon was to get to free Satan. Satan was trapped, but he also had his platform that he could run through the Whore of Babylon. Now,
Wow.
Whore of Babylon's biggest problem was not getting him out. He worried about it. She worried about it. So I gave her a name. I called her Mystery because you never know what's happening to her.
Now you made an interesting statement. Satan is trapped. Now,
Yeah.
what is it that has Satan trapped? Is it the kingdom of light that has Satan trapped? And
No.
well, what is it that has Satan trapped?
It's a book. Now, if you read Devil's Bible, it's called the Codex Gigas in Sweden. Now, you see a picture at the back of it of Satan, the devil, with painted in green, the two horns and everything like that. They could speak to her through their minds as platforms. You see, the Whore of Babylon that's in the book is, the evil lust. She could, I use lust because I think I could do more with her.
Wow, that's absolutely interesting. I tell you, we have just about a minute and a half left. So again, the time just flies. I tell you. So once again, it's quite interesting how the culture fosters fear within themselves. You talk about Satan being trapped. You talk about Pandora and that culture and being trapped in that fear. So it's been quite an interesting conversation about the book that you've written there. So tell the people, you have about 30 seconds. Tell the people a little bit if they want to get your book and how they can contact you if they're interested in contacting you.
I like to think, as my first book goes, it was a good effort. My second book's going to be even better. And Pandora's Christmas. You can get it online in bookshops. It's all here, and you can get it mainly through the Kindle and online. Make sure you enjoyed it. You can contact me on Facebook, Michael McDonald, Facebook.com.
For those of you who have been viewing, for those of you who are watching, we trust that you enjoyed this interview. Remember to join us next time right here on Spotlight TV. I'm Dr. Larry Carnes. We're so excited to have with us our special guest. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.